How's it going, guys? John the Basic Expert here, and I thought I would do a video from my dirty desk, my messy, dusty desk that I need to clean, and talk about Castles and Crusades. In particular, I have right here in front of me the box set. I've had it for a while. I've not yet ran it, but I'm a sucker for old school, and this box set just like dripped old school to me. So I thought it'd be good. I've been meaning to make a video about it, and I figured right now might as well be as good of a time as any to sit and talk about this box set of Castles and Crusades. You can get it on the Trollord Games website, and yeah, let's review this. Let's talk about it, and this will be kind of like how I reviewed, I think, my Lex Arcana, how I did my Lex Arcana video. Go ahead and check that out if you're interested. But I want to look at this, talk about Castles and Crusades, and we'll go from there. So let's dive in. So the first thing you'll notice with this box set is it is very nice. It is constructed very well. I love this box set. Everything I have the player's handbook in PDF because I think it's like the 6th or 7th printing they just give for free on their website. I think the 2nd or 3rd printing of the Monsters and Treasure book. And so, and then I have this. So this is pretty much everything you need to run the game from level 1 to level 10. I believe there was a brown box set that I think went to a lower level. I don't remember what that one is. I don't own that particular one, obviously. But yeah, I saw this on the Trollords Games website like a while ago. I don't even remember when I purchased this. This might have been back in January, even maybe 2022 last year. I don't remember. But I just saw the box set and I'm like, you know, I really love original Dungeons and Dragons, and this just oozes that vibe. I love it. So I went ahead and I splurged and I got it. So gift to myself, I guess. Let's open it up and see what's inside and what you get. So inside you get a little golf pencil. This is kind of funny. Put that over here. They do give you a set of dice to play the game, which is fun. So you get a set of dice. I got these purpley pink ones, so that's fun. And then you got your rule books here. So it comes in, they're all saddle stitched, as you can see. It comes in multiple books here. So volume 1 is Men in Magic. Then you have volume 2, which is Eldritch Enchantments. Let me try and get this back on camera here. Let's start at the beginning. So volume 1, Men in Magic. This is like your character creation here. Volume 2 is Eldritch Enchantments. So this is obviously like your spells and whatnot. So that's what's in the second book. The third book is Wilderness Adventures in the Underworld. This is like your dungeon master information about how to run combat, how to what's a combat round, and just your general like adventuring rules that you an explanation of the rules for you right here. You have Monsters and Treasure. This is your DMG plus monsters, very similar to, again, the old white box style tables. You got your treasure tables. I love tables. All that kind of stuff. Good stuff. It's not super long. Let's see. This one's only 41 pages. So I think you get only some pretty basic creatures in here. And I'm not... it's presented in an okay way. So it's presented in the same way that like the white box actually does it, where you have like the stat blocks here for like, let's look at the bugbear. So monster plus size medium, hit die has 3d8, save its AC, number of attacks, and damage by the weapon that it wields. And then so you can just reference that as a this is very much like what the white box, original white box did. And then later you have explanations of what the creatures are, what they can do. So you got quite a bit of monsters here. It's very compact, but I'm glad that I have the bigger book, I guess. Not that this is bad per se, but you know, I prefer the, I guess, the BX later edition style of stat blocks rather than the way the white box did it. But I appreciate also the tradition that this was going in here. And then you have this here, which is Kane's Gauntlet, and it's an adventure for a starting adventure that you can run your players through. I've not looked at it too much, but it seems pretty well thought out, and it's quite long. It's as long as any of the other books. So let's see, we're at 34 pages, and that seems to be about average for the other books. So it's a good length adventure. You got lots of maps and things that you can do. And I want to talk about the art on each of these covers too. They're quite good. You'll also get these little character sheets, and they are two-sided, as you can see here. So you get these little character sheets, pretty neat. Definitely would probably scan a couple of these and have them on hand for future use, because you're going to obviously probably run out of these, especially if you DM the way I do, where it's easier to die for the players. And you got your reference pages here, of various things and their values and all that kind of stuff. So it's everything you need to run Castles and Crusades levels 1 through 10 is in this book, essentially. Let's go through the first book, because I think what a lot of people might be interested in is what's exactly in this first book, and what are you getting, because this is where your character creation is going to come into play, what are you getting? So there are some changes in here to regular, and they're minor changes. They're aesthetic changes. So the character classes that you have available to you is the Cleric, Fighter, Thief, and Wizard. They changed the name of the Rogue. I think they call it the Rogue in most other versions of Castles and Crusades, but in order to keep it in line with the white box style game, they call it the Thief. The irony being is that the Thief didn't appear in the original white box game, so it's just funny. It's just an anachronism within the game itself that the Thief appears here as well. So yeah, you have your Cleric, and you got all your information for building the Cleric character. You got your Fighter, and your Thief, or Rogue if you want to go by the traditional, not traditional, but the more, I guess, appropriate name here. So Thief, and the Wizard. It's kind of funny they didn't call it a magic user, though, to me. And as you can see, yeah, it goes up to level 10, and this is... Let's talk about Castles and Crusades as far as, like, what this is. Because Castles and Crusades, this game, is very much something that is, like... I don't know if I would consider OSR. It is maybe OSR adjacent. I think it leans just as much into new school thought as it does into old school thought. I do like some of the elegance here of like each class has like a skill that it's good at. So like a cleric is going to use wisdom here, and that's like its prime attribute, and that's going to affect your target numbers. If I remember correctly, let's go and let's look at the siege engine and let's read it. The siege engine is the core mechanic that powers Castles and Crusades. In this game, you will resolve almost every problem using an attribute check. Each attribute will have a bonus from -3 to +3, so these are like BX style bonuses. They're not like your 5e style bonuses where you're getting these bonuses completely out of control, but we'll see. To make an attribute check, you roll 1d20, adding your attribute bonus and your level, so it can get a little out of hand, to the roll. Not really, I guess, but still. Some of your attributes will be marked as primary or primes. For these, you are trying to get a 12 on your die roll. Secondary or non-prime attributes require an 18 or better to succeed. This number is called the challenge base, or CB. Difficulties are further modified by how easy they are. A shift called the challenge level, or CL, and applied to the base difficulty by the CK, the Castle Keeper. The CB plus the CL is the final challenge class, or CC, the total target number of your roll. You will need to remember then, all you need to remember then is the following: base attribute check, ability bonus plus level plus 1d20. Challenge class difficulty or target result is the CB plus a CL equals final CC. Every aspect of the game is handled like this, with one minor exception, and that is combat. In combat, the check adds your ability bonus, strength for melee attacks, and dexterity for ranged attacks to a class-specific bonus called the base to hit bonus. Level is not added. The target number in this case is the opponent's armor class, AC. If the target is successful, the weapon does its listed damage in hit points to the target. Melee attacks add the character's strength modifier to damage. Thus, combat rolls are attack roll, ability bonus plus base to hit plus 1d10. I think that's a typo there. It's supposed to be 1d20. So that's funny. Target number is opponent's AC. So very simple. I think it's definitely more crunchy than, say, like BX kind of is. But I'm okay with that to a big degree. I really think that if you're a DM or GM who's maybe sick of Pathfinder or sick of 5th edition, and you're looking for a game system, but your players are not, they're scared to try BX, they're scared to try Advanced Dungeons and Dragons or Osric or Old School Essentials or something like that, Castles and Crusades might be a game where a lot of the stuff is going to feel very familiar to them, and they can do their character builds, they can do all of that kind of stuff, but there's still a lot that leans into the old school. Like, I like that it uses the more BX style modifiers, and sure, you can add your level to it, but that's okay. I mean, you also add, like, I believe hit dice, like the monsters challenge level is going to affect the difficulty. So, like, if it's a big hit die creature that, for instance, you're trying to track down in the woods, you might need that big level bonus to beat the target number. And to a degree, I sort of like the idea of players knowing what their target numbers are in a lot of respects. This is very, like, to me, Traveler-esque in a lot of ways, where players can... They know what number they're trying to hit, and to me, I see it both ways, but to me, it can help keep a DM honest, where it's like, you rolled and you missed the number, you missed the target number. I can't fudge this for you. If I fudge it, then it's very clear that I'm playing favorites or that I'm doing something of that nature. So the Siege engine, I feel like, is familiar, but unique enough. 5e definitely stole a lot from this. As far as design choices, and so some of this is going to feel very, I think, familiar to your players. You'll notice too, if you look at the wizard here, you'll notice too that there are level 0, so this does have cantrips. I'm not the biggest fan of cantrips, but I would probably tolerate it with this if we were running this game. I would be okay with it. The little things like that are things that at this point for me as a DM and as a player, I'm just sort of not interested in sort of those new fangled things. I know cantrips aren't that new. I think they were introduced in AD&D, but still, I don't particularly like cantrips. They've been kind of a gateway, I think, in order to make PCs a little more, especially spellcasters, a little more powerful. I think they're maybe introduced to make them more survivable, but I do like that the hit die for the thief is on a d4. I think one thing with 5e, for instance, that I have always had a problem with is it seems like they really stepped up the hit die for each class. I like the more BX hit die. Even AD&D has like a d6 for the thief. Let's look at the thief here. See if we can see anything here. These are the thief's abilities. He's using a d6. So the thief uses a d6. So that's okay, That's one thing that a lot of players have kind of had a problem with in BX was what the thief has the same hit die as a magic user. So, and looks like the cleric is on a d8 and the fighter is on a d10. And those are the 4 classes you get. Now, I find that to be plenty. The 4 core classes, the 4 basic classes are pretty much all you need. I'm quite happy with, for instance, original Dungeons and Dragons, which it didn't even have a thief in it. That was added later in Supplement 1. But the 4 classes, the 4 BX style classes are, for me, more than enough, more than enough to satisfy me, and I'm okay with that. Like I'm fine with those 4 classes. Some players may not like that. Tell them that if you are a GM and you want to allow it, or a castle keeper and you want to allow it, the PDF is free. The player's handbook is free in the PDF of an earlier printing where players can download that, and you have your bard, you have your paladin, you have lots of other extra classes that they might be more familiar with that they want to play as. And that's up to you. I like the stripped down nature of this with just like these basic classes, because I feel like some of those other classes, and I've talked about this before, like warlock and whatnot, are sort of redundant classes that don't really need to exist, but players like having them exist. So yeah, I really love it. The print job is pretty good, aside from a typo here and there, but the print job is pretty good. I mean, again, it's saddle stitched. Let me see if I can get it on the camera here. It'll focus. I don't know if it'll focus. I don't think it's gonna focus. But it's saddle stitched. It has a nice like glossy cardstock style cover, and then the inside pages they're it doesn't feel like computer paper, but it doesn't feel like it feels like good quality paper on the inside. I do notice some rasterization or pixelation on some images within the art as well. Most of the art is pretty good. Like if we look at this one here, I like most of the art in this. The covers are just awesome. I love the cover art on this. It looks really good. On all of these are really good. So, Eldritch enchantments here. Dragon coming out. So, let's look at this one real quick. So yeah, you got your magic user and cleric spells in here. I'm assuming this isn't the entirety of the spell list, but again, if you have the player's handbook, you should have access to all those other spells, and again, it's free in PDF. I think you get a lot of bang for your buck here. You get a very slick presentation in this box. The game Castles and Crusades itself is a fun game. I like the system. It's a good, again, I think Castles and Crusades is like a good compromise between old school and new school. Again, if you have players that are like, I'm not interested in those old grognard games, you can show them this, and this will feel updated enough to where they will be interested, but you as the GM will still get your old school fix out of it too. I know I've talked to so many DMs and GMs that are like, I want to play an older edition, but my players just aren't interested. And quite often, if you want to play a game, unless you want a solo game, which I do a lot on my channel, unless you want a solo game, you can't really, you got to play what people are willing to join to some degree. We don't all have the luxury of just being like, this is the game I'm playing and you can join it or not. But I like this. It's very nice, stripped down presentation of the Castles and Crusades rules. And again, if you want to expand it more, you just need to get the free PDF, which has all the classes. Like if you want to go beyond level 10 in your game, all the classes that are present in here are in that PDF, and you can go beyond level 10 if you want. I like that it ends at level 10. It's very similar to like older editions where by the time you reach level 10, you should be sort of looking at domain play or retiring your character. Your character might become an NPC that gives the next generation of adventurers some quests to go on. So, but if you want to extend it beyond that, again, that PDF for the player's handbook is free. So I rather like this. I'm going to recommend it, and I should probably give this thing a score. And so I'm going to use the same scoring system that I used in Lex Arcana. All right, so let's give this a rating of what we're gonna do. So when I rated Lex Arcana, I rated it on a 3-tier or like a 3-area thing, and then we averaged it out for a final score. Each score is out of 10. So I graded it on system, layout, and clarity for the rules. System, I'm gonna give it an 8. Some people might not like the Siege Engine, but within the player's handbook, I believe, or it's within the dungeon, the Castle Keeper's Guide, there's a rule where you essentially get the same math, if you don't like the 12 or 18 target number, that you can get to the same math where like on one skill it's a +2, and on another skill it's a +4, and everything is target number 18. So like it or something like that. It's like you're doing the same thing. Like if it's your primary skill, you're gonna get a +4. If it's not your primary skill, you're gonna get a +2 on the ability check. It just depends on how you want to do it. I don't personally have a problem with saying strength is your primary skill. Your target number is 12 for that. Otherwise, it is 18 for, wisdom, because that's not something you're skilled at. So I'm fine with that. I think most players would get it. It's not, to me, that confusing, but I don't want to give people too much credit because we live in the age where people don't read the rule books. So who knows? But I think the system is simple. It's familiar, but different enough. The Siege engine is definitely unique and different. When all this OGL stuff happened, Castles and Crusades, Troll Lord Games was pretty confident that they were not going to have to change or do anything really different to Castles and Crusades because the Siege engine is unique. Yes, you're rolling a d20, but the math that you use it's a different usage of math to get to a lot of the same points that, for instance, 5e gets to, or even BX or any of these other systems get to. So it's, to me, familiar. So system, a score of 8 out of 10. Layout and art, I went with 7 out of 10, mostly because, again, I think some people might have some trouble with, let's look in the Eldritch enchantments here, some of the acronyms and whatnot took a bit of getting used to, and maybe this is a system thing, but it could also just be a presentation thing within this itself. And this is, again, for this box set. This isn't for the player's handbook or something like that. And again, some players might have, or GMs might have some trouble with the monster stat blocks here, of having to look them up on the table here. Let me see. Look them up on the table. Where's it at? Come on. Oh, I'm not even in the right book. You dummy. Trying to look it up on these tables here, and then having the descriptions later. They might not like that because some of the abilities are in the descriptions later, so you might be flipping back and forth as far as layout is concerned. However, again, this is more, quote, traditional with what the white box originally was. So you might like that aspect. I don't know, but I'm going to give it a 7 because the rules, it's not laid out terribly. I've seen books laid out much worse than much worse than this. This is very doable. This is very standard. I'm fine with the way these little booklets are laid out. And let's go for clarity. Clarity is part of the rules and just the whole overall, do I understand the game? And I gave it a 9. It is very clear, very easy to understand this game. I don't know if it's my previous experience with older editions of D&D, 5th edition, and AD&D and all these other games, but to me, it makes sense, and I really feel like this is a good game. It's written well. I felt like from one read through of it, which I didn't have too much familiarity with Castles and Crusades prior to getting this. I had again the PDF of the PHB, but I never flipped through it all that much just because I don't particularly care for PDFs all that much. I like physical things in my hand to read first. But I felt like reading this, I could run this game. After reading it once, I could run this game no problem. There will probably be some hiccups here and there, but the game is so clear and concise and simple. But yet familiar. There's some differences and some unique things about it that are just not within the OSR. For instance, not every creature's hit dice is on a D8 or a D6 like in original White Box. Instead, it's more that modern take like what 5e does, where well, I guess maybe 5e took it from this because this predates 5e, where the monsters have different hit die sizes. So, the bugbear was on a D8, but a goblin might be on a smaller hit die. So, you might like that, you might not. It changes the math a little bit. It changes the damage, the amount of damage a creature can take. That's gonna speed up or slow down combat depending on how your players play and what you're doing. But you might like that, you might not. I don't know. But clarity, I gave it a 9. Overall, that's a system 8, layout 7, clarity 9, average 8. So 8 out of 10 for Castles and Crusades fantasy role-playing game box set. I recommend it. I like its stripped-down nature. It's very nostalgic, but yet it's a functional, easy to understand, and playable game. I think if you, again, are a DM who wants to get your players out of 5th edition or Pathfinder or whatever modern system you're in, and you want something with a little more old-school flair to it, Castles and Crusades might be the game for you, where you can get that fixed, but your players don't have to play this stinky old game, whatever their opinion is on the OSR. So, and you know, Gary Gygax did consult on this game, and I so many people have said it, and I will echo that as well. Castles and Crusades is like, this is the true modern edition of D&D, in my opinion. If you want a modernized version of D&D, it is not 5th edition. It is this game right here. This is the real modern take on D&D right here. It's much better written. It's a much better game. It feels like a natural evolution from Advanced Dungeons and Dragons to this, you know, simple, clear, concise, all the good stuff. It would scratch my itch as someone who wants to play old school games, but has players that maybe are not as interested in old school games as I am. You might be able to sell them on this game. So what do you guys think? Do you play Castles and Crusades? Do you agree with my rating? I think 8 out of 10 is pretty fair. It's a B, you know? A B is good. I would have been happy for a B when I was in school because I was a terrible student. So that's my score, 8 out of 10 altogether for this box set. I'm quite happy with it. Don't regret buying it. It looks good on my bookshelf, and someday I really want to run a full group through maybe a campaign or two, or at least of Castles and Crusades. I'm definitely interested in this. So tell me what you think below. If you like this kind of stuff, please like, subscribe, share. You can support the channel on Subscribestar or on my Guilded server, or right here on YouTube. Just click the join link below. And I appreciate all of you that support the channel and help me do what I do and talk about these kinds of games, talk about the hobby in general. It really means a lot to me. And I will catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.